Hi everyone. Well, thank you British Council Argentina for this possibility. It's a real honor for me to be part of this week. So thank you. I'm going to start the session trying to share my screen. Let's see if you can see the presentation. Can you see it? Well, as I said before, thank you British Council for giving me the possibility of being part of ELT Week Argentina 2025. Welcome to the session, people. This is about strategies that help dyslexic learners and everyone else. So if you have any question, any idea, any comment you want to make, don't hesitate and write it in the chat. And at the very end, we're going to have some minutes for discussion. We are going to try to answer your questions and we are going to share your comments and ideas too. So let's hope you enjoy the presentation. So this is the agenda for today. First, I'm going to start sharing some facts that caught my attention when I was preparing the presentation. Then we're going to revisit the concept of dyslexia. We are going to deal with some misconceptions. We're going to analyze some regulations that exist at national level. We are going to see how we can identify students with dyslexia in the class. We are going to see how we can adapt material and how we can accommodate the class. And last but not least, we're going to leave the session with this notion of spark. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. So, some facts. These two facts really caught my attention and I consider that they are really interesting for you to know them. So the first one is at international level, and it says that according to the International Dyslexia Association, 15 to 20% of the global population has a language-based learning disability, and 70 to 80% has deficits in reading. At national level, we can say that specific learning difficulties, including dyslexia, affect between 10% and 15% of the Argentinian population. At least 1 in 10 children with dyslexia struggles in school, and most lack an accurate diagnosis. This was said by María Eugenia Ianiro. She's the president of This Farm Argentina. This Farm is an international organization. In fact, it is the International Dyslexia Family Organization. So I want you to enjoy this presentation and listen to this presentation with these two facts in mind. And let's see if at the very end of the session, you can leave the session with some ideas and strategies you can use to implement with your students in the class. So let's start. So what is dyslexia? I know that probably you may have an idea of what dyslexia is. So what is dyslexia? There are different definitions of the term dyslexia. It was first used to describe a range of specific learning difficulties that include dysgraphia, which is a difficulty with handwriting and written communication. Dyscalculia, which is the difficulty with mathematical formulas and mathematical operations. Dyspraxia, which is kinesthetic and motor impairment, among others. Rose defines dyslexia as a learning difficulty that primarily affects the skills involved in accurate and fluent word reading and spelling. What I can tell you is that dyslexia has a Greek origin. This means difficulty, and lexia comes from lexis, and it means words and language. In its simplest way, we can say that dyslexia means problems with words or language. But we can define dyslexia as a language-based characteristic that involves weaknesses in phonological awareness and word decoding. Dyslexia is a brain-based disorder that causes difficulty in using and processing linguistic and symbolic codes. What are the main characteristics of dyslexia? What are the main characteristics of dyslexia? Well, we can say that people who suffer from dyslexia, they have difficulty in decoding individual words, they have poor reading fluency, and they have spelling weaknesses. What I can also tell you is that dyslexia is a lifelong condition. However, intervention can have a positive impact on the person's ability to read and write. Something that caught my attention is that dyslexia is found in boys and girls in similar numbers, although it is more common in boys. So now that we have an idea of what dyslexia is, I wanted to see this video, and in this video you're going to see how the brain of a dyslexic person how the brain reads, how the person with dyslexia reads. Look at this. It's terrible, people. Well, you are going to see that the letters and the sentences are going to move. They are going to fall apart. It depends on the level of dyslexia the person has. Sometimes some words can disappear, some phrases can disappear, and even sentences can disappear. So, as I said before, it depends on the level of dyslexia the person has. So, this is super important. I think that we need to have this video in mind when we plan lessons. So we need to take into consideration what we are going to see in the rest of the presentation. Okay, so what misconceptions exist regarding dyslexia? There are different myths about the concept, but but these are the most important ones that we need to know. Students with dyslexia read backwards. Well, this is completely untrue. People with dyslexia don't read backwards, they have reading difficulties, and what they have is letter reversals. Then we are going to refer to this. Some people consider dyslexia as a disease. Well, this is completely untrue. Dyslexia is not a disease, that's why it doesn't have a cure. What we can say is that dyslexia is a condition, is a difficulty, or we can also refer to dyslexia, people who have dyslexia, as having a characteristic. Dyslexic students have a lower level of intelligence. Well, this is also untrue. People with dyslexia generally are very intelligent and they are very creative. The last myth I decided to share with you is the one that says dyslexia occurs in people of some backgrounds and intellectual levels. Well, this is completely untrue. Dyslexia occurs in people of all levels, all backgrounds, and all intellectual levels. And dyslexia exists all over the world. So, now that we have revisited the concept of dyslexia, we have been analyzing the misconceptions. We need to know that there are some regulations that exist in Argentina, and we teachers need to know. What we are going to see right now here are three important policies or regulations that exist at national level, yes, in Argentina. The first policy is the National Education Act. It was passed in 2006. It is Ley Nacional de Educación. And in this case, this calls for policies to promote equality in education, designed to address situations of injustice, marginalization, stigmatization, and other forms of discrimination. The second policy that we need to know is the Federal Board of Education, the resolution number 155 from 2011. This is the resolution passed from Consejo Federal de Educación. And this is important because this resolution defines inclusion as transforming education systems and other learning environments to respond to the diverse needs of students. And last but not least, we have Act number 27306, passed in 2016 and implemented in 2018. This is the well-known Ley de Dyslexia, and this law is super important and I recommend you to read it. And there are two articles that are really interesting and we need to know them. Article number 3 defines specific learning difficulties as neurological problems that affect cognitive processes related to language, reading, writing, and mathematics operations. Here we have dyslexia included. The second article that we need to know is Article 6. This article states that schools must adapt classes to guarantee all students access to the curricular designs proposed by each country. So here in article number 6, we receive the obligation, yes, we need to adapt our lessons, yes, for all students, including dyslexic ones.